And then what happens next? Everybody run and it turn their heads. Hey, and then what happens next? Everybody run and it turn their heads.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over in a short amount of time, so to get right into it, today we're going to be hitting the Russian rocket successfully puts Iranian satellite into orbit. But what is that Iranian satellite, and what the heck are they launching? What are we responding to? And more. Of course, we're going to talk about the breakaway region asked Moscow to protect it from Moldova. Transnistria is straight up saying, protect us at this point. Now we have Sweden responds to Russian threats. We, of course, have Putin threatens to nuke the West straight up with the Sarmat. We have, of course, 14 U.S. locations in Russia's crosshairs. We have Texas wildfires, 1.1 million acres charred. It's a huge, huge area. Texas wildfires destroy grain and cattle. Of course, saw that coming. On the Rio Grande, Trump and Biden. And of course, we have the first North Korea spy satellite is, quote, alive and being controlled. Not good. And then, of course, China, U.S. Becomes biggest threat to space security. That's according to, of course, them, right? And then, of course, we have South Korean and U.S. troops will begin major exercises next week. That is, of course, a huge, huge red line for North Korea. And then, of course, Philippines, Marcos, not 1 square inch, saying he will not be taken. And of course, Gates, Zuckerberg, and other elites are attending this family's events. Wow, this family must be special with the guest list like they have. I'm sure they'll have elephants that everybody can ride and probably, who knows, rocket rides. And then, of course, secret EpiPen documents to be released. Big distraction upcoming. And then update T-Man's court documents hack. What the heck happened? Well, I guess we might not know. U.S. diplomat admits secretly spying for Cuba. Well, didn't see that one coming either, right? And much more. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Hey, and then what happens next? Everybody run and it turn their heads. Hey, and then what happens next? Everybody run and it turn their heads. Hey.
All right, Skyson, hi, Nemesis Break, D. Lynn, Laura Griffith, J-Pass, Chance, Paladin, thank you. Matt Nate, of course, we have Avchafka Shepard, D.W. David's Way, Chuck D, thank you, says, hey fam, Deacon T, Isaac the Hermit. I'm in Huntsville, Arkansas at the moment. Hey, nice to see you, everybody from all over the country and all over the world, especially from Australia. You guys have been awesome this week. Thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you for sharing my stuff out. Thank you for the emails. You know who you are from Australia. Thank you for the wonderful notes and the get well prayers for my family. That was really nice. Okay, and then David Holston, Weechi, Heartbroken Survivor. Just want to let us know she is officially 71 and said the world is allowed to know. Again, Heartbroken Survivor, happy birthday and happy 71. That's a huge deal. And of course, if you guys don't know about Heartbroken Survivor, she is one tough cookie. Self-admittedly lives on her own, blind, and 71 years old. That's more than most people can do in their 20s. So she is a tough cookie. She's a very, very awesome Foogle fam member. So thank you for being here and thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, I hope you guys are having a really good day. Unfortunately, today is full of really scary stories. So if you're ready for the campfire, it's about to start. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. This is going to cause anxiety because this is not fake stuff. This isn't ghost stories. Unfortunately, a lot of this is talk and speculation about the world and what is about to happen. So we're not going to sugarcoat it, especially now. We're closer and closer to, again, an event that all of us debate on what it is, but most of us don't debate that something's about to happen. Let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine, but I got to tell you, I'm a little worried about what's going up in space right now.
Yeah, and as far as what is going into space, we don't exactly know. Dex, do you want to start off with the Russian rocket uh, put an Iranian satellite into space, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah, so the Roscosmos Vostochny launch facility, they have launched, and they're claiming. So this is at the end of the day, we don't know anything. All we know is what they tell us because it's coming out of Russia and obviously coming out of Iran. But they're claiming that they've launched a satellite for Iran using Russian rockets in Russia. So all we really know is they launched something into space yet again, and it's now for yet another adversary of ours, Iran. So the question is, what will really happen? Now, of course, they say they're putting in a satellite that will be put into orbit around the North and South poles and be synchronized to be in the same time fixed position relative to the sun and will be fully functional after its calibrated systems. That's all the science talk they want to give us about their satellite and what they're doing with it. But outside of that, that's all we really know. And any time they do a launch, we have to be concerned about what's going up there, whether or not it's potentially a threat to our other satellites or even a threat to us down here on land when it comes to something like an EMP, which can easily be put in a very small package because it doesn't require a large warhead. It requires a very small amount, very low yield.
One of the Fugel family members that is familiar and studied this in college said that about a 75-pound package could hold a warhead enough for an EMP to blast the entire United States. This was a 110 kilogram or a 242-pound satellite that they say, of course, has cameras and this and that. At the timing of all of this, do you really believe that Iran is launching something for the environment? I don't exactly believe that. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to claim to know. But as far as the timing right now, everybody kind of feels this precipice coming on, and it's not exactly a great thing. Back over to the map, we're going to be heading over to Moldova, and this is the West closely watching Putin's next move after the breakaway region asked Moscow to protect it from Moldova. We've talked about Transnistria before, and again, I think I'm saying that right. I always mess up on that one. But as far as what is going on here, they're asking for protection. Moldova is right below it, I believe, and I'm trying to go off of memory here. So this is, it's hard to see here. This is Moldova's down here, and Transnistria is up here. So they are essentially
that blue dot is in Transnistria.
Yeah,
it's like that. It's like that side edge of Moldova.
Yeah, so it's in Moldova, but it's a breakaway region. So as far as this goes, Dex, how would they do that? I mean, would they set up camp there, or what are they exactly asking for?
Well, they've been called a state or a breakaway state for a long time. They have a lot of Russians. They even have some Russian troops that have been there in the past and are still there. But they, what they're asking for now, and they're actually asking for protection from Russia against Moldova. And that is the concern that everybody's sort of now going, okay, well, how's Russia going to react? Is Russia going to jump right in and say, no problem, happy to be here, and roll a bunch of troops in so he can claim more territory? Or is he going to be more diplomatic about it? That's the big question. This has been ramping up over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people were speculating this was going to happen. There was a lot of conversation and talk because on the other side of it, Moldova was saying, hey, we might want to be part of the EU. And Moldova was saying, we might want to be part of NATO. And once those words came to light, that angered the Russians that were there, but it also angered Russia themselves, saying, "Yeah, we don't need any more NATO countries that are getting closer to our borders." So you've got Moldova saying they want to join NATO. You've got the Transnistrias inside of Moldova, which are supported by Russia, and now they're formally asking Putin to come in and protect them.
Now, just a reminder. So if you're not familiar with this part of the world, Russia is up here, Ukraine is here, which there's the conflict going on here. If you remember, it's got to be over a year now. Romania, which is beyond Moldova, it has hundreds of miles of trenches dug. So Romania along this border, this is really reminiscent of other countries, what they did in World War II. So Romania has trenches dug, and this was a long time ago. By now, they've got hundreds of miles dug. So think about that. They're actually way over a year ago, they were thinking if this goes south, almost quite literally, that they would come into and pass Moldova or into the border here into Romania and invade Romania. Moldova is right here. So if there's Russian conflict going on right here, that is why they were worried about rowing right into there. Now, if you spin this map, that is what we pictured when Belarusian leader Lukashenko had a map, and it was rotated about 90 degrees, I think, and it showed Moldova on top of Ukraine because it was from their view, I believe. But it showed a red arrow going from Ukraine into Moldova, and there was speculation back then that at that point, after Ukraine, that they would go into Moldova. There was, the map had current troop locations, and even Fugel fam members that are ex-military said, hey, those are real troops. Those are real squadrons right there, or those are real squads right there. You could see all of the different base names, all of the different groups that were there, and it was current. So that map wasn't just some, random kind of demonstration of a map saying, oh, here's Moldova, here's this. It was a current battle map. It was a war map. And it showed them going into Moldova. Now, fast forward, all of this has been said over months now, and now they're actually asking for protection because they believe it's going to happen. Is it going to happen? Would any of us be surprised if it does? It seems like all of these kind of things come out, and then it actually happens. Same with Ukraine, even initially getting invaded. It's like there was so much fuss about it. But at this point, no one believes what MSM is saying, or most people are just so fed up with being lied to, they just consider everything is Ganda. There's a ton of Ganda, but there's also, again, I guess, predictive messages being put out as well. There's also messages telling us exactly what's going to happen. I personally think they will go into Moldova, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And KT Cleans a lot. Thank you so much for your comment on this will be 100 times worse than AT&T outage. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sweatinum Ministries. Thank you. It says, Jesus is coming, and I hope I didn't miss that one. Paul Barbacano, thank you, says each state should have a meetup place when it all goes down. Is that what it says? Meet up when power goes out forever, so we have something to work out from. So there are groups of people that have already been gathered for years since our Discord shut down, but there are state groups, and then there's ham radio operators in our community. We're working on like the ham radio portion of that, because when everything goes down, that's going to be the big thing, is communications. So if you know somebody or you are a ham radio operator, of course, it depends. It's going to get dicey if things go down like that, and if our power goes out, you're also going to have to deal with the human aspect. Not everybody is going to be as prepped as others. People are going to need things. So, being realistic if things go down, when power goes out, right? Are people going to be as generous and nice as they say they're going to be now? Are they going to help others? If a ham radio operator says that they're going to be your person to communicate with, are they going to do that depending on what the scenario is and how things go down? That's the part that people need to think about. we will not know until we get to that point or when we cross that bridge. But knowing somebody that has that capability, and if they're close and you know that you can depend on them, that would be a very good thing to have. Well, everything is up and running, you can go get your license yourself. Paul Barbacano, thank you. B-Dub, I want Marf to eat a snack live on air. Do it, Marf. My wife isn't making me dinner tonight, but I often eat on air. You guys just don't usually know it. I usually show you the meal she prepares me, though. I would think my worst nightmare is listening to somebody eat through a very high quality microphone. I know that some people on TikTok do that for fun. I don't. I think that's like nails on a chalkboard. Sweatin' Ministries, thank you. Lola Cafe, thank you. I did miss you yesterday. I know that. Thank you, Lola Cafe. And then Wings and Wags Patriot. Yeah, I'm not into the ASMR stuff, man. That is just I am so disturbed by what people think is like. I see people that are like 10 million subscribers and all they do is like scratch their mic. I think that's so weird. Does anybody agree with me on that? I hope so. I feel now I'm the weird one for thinking that these folks are a little weird. Anyways, back to the news. Sweden responds to Russian threats over NATO membership. Oh my gosh, the timing. That is funny. I didn't think you were making me any. So I guess, thank you. That's funny. It's not anything special. Usually but she brought me extra mac and cheese. So you might get your wish. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to, I'll turn the mic off. Anyways, Sweden responds to Russian threats over NATO membership. Sweden is, of course, now a part of NATO. And it says Prime Minister of Sweden has commented on Russia's intentions to take, quote, military and technical measures in response to the country's imminent entry into NATO. Dex, this is a really big deal.
It certainly is. So they've got, with the membership coming in, of course, Russia has, ties there, the embassy and whatnot. So they are basically making a statement, an official statement that, says that they're not happy with what they're doing. They want to point back to prior leadership in Sweden that's always tried to stay more neutral than taking sides, and suggesting that the path that they've been on now is not, something that they've done in the past. The essence of the response from the Russian diplomat is outlined in the last two paragraphs, where they promise on behalf of the Russian Federation to, quote, take countermeasures of a political and military nature to minimize any threats to their national security. So their countermeasures specific content will depend on the condition and degree of Sweden's integration into NATO, including possible deployment of alliance troops, ammunition, and armaments in this country. They quoted. So, we know anyone else added to NATO, Russia's not going to like. They're just not going to be happy about it. Understood, clear. But we'll see. What, I guess it's not like we're getting much more in the way of benefit here. Sweden had already given full access to their bases to the U.S. While they were waiting to get into NATO. So they basically were, by all practical purposes, acting like a NATO member. They just didn't have the Article 5 option, where if, say, Russia wanted to attack Sweden, then everybody would jump in. So, but now that's the case. I think it's the official date will be any day this week is supposed to be the formal signing in. It may have already happened.
Yeah, they were already doing drills. They were already working closely together. They were already doing a lot of the things that a NATO member were doing. Still crazy though. Ukraine will not be in NATO anytime soon, but who knows? Maybe they're the last to join. Before we move on, I just want to remind you guys to go check out EMP Shield if you are worried about an EMP or even a CME from the sun, given that we're in solar cycle 25 in that solar maximum period. You can go over to EMP Shield and protect your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, your generators, your ham radio if you have one, and even your home. It can be wired into your home and it will protect everything within 250 linear feet of where it is wired in. That's most size houses. But as far as the car part, as far as having this on your car, that's a huge deal. If you work far from work, or you live far from work, you're at work 30 miles away. If an EMP or a CME hits or a solar event, you're stuck at work. Are you going to walk home? Again, there's all sorts of variables if this does happen. Will there be a way to drive home? Will all the cars be blocking the freeways? There's a lot of questions there. But one thing is for sure, if your car runs, you're going to be better off than it doesn't. Not to mention if your generator runs or if your house is all protected. That way, if you do have a generator, after everything stops and it all multiple strikes later, you're able to reboot and start all your stuff back up with your generators. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is a great solution. It's something that if everyone had, EMP and CME wouldn't even be an issue. A Carrington level event. If 10 years ago they said this was a possibility, well, for CME, it's a guarantee. If they put this in 10 years ago to the entire country, if they hardened our grid, decades ago, there wouldn't even be an issue right now. It would not be an issue. But unfortunately, our grid is extremely vulnerable, and they're nowhere close to having the whole country hardened. They have some military buildings, they have government buildings. And again, we know this. There's, EMP Shield has worked with agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course now on the Dempsey team helping protect Texas. So Texas might be better off than anybody else. But again, go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. And it helps us out. And of course, it helps our independent channel. And it protects you and gets you a huge $50 off discount. Again, use that code MARF. All right. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about Putin threatens to nuke the West after accusing NATO of planning to strike Russia?
Certainly. So yeah, what's happening here. There's a great short we just put together over on Marfoogle News. So if you watch this video to the end, we'll put a link to it. You can click on that and go right over there. If you want to share that one out, it's an awesome video to share out because it's going to talk specifically about these threats that are happening. And what's going on right now is in this new speech, a state speech that he has given, he has made claims that NATO is going to attack Russia. He is specifically calling it out. He's also talking about territory either being attacked or taken away or wiped out completely. One of the things that's definitely on the table that we know that he's been concerned about is the territory that he's gained through the invasion into UKR, but also Crimea. And when you listen to a lot of the Western words, they like to say, well, all of that has to be given back, including Crimea. So that's kind of a crazy ask, and that's not going to get anywhere as far as the negotiation goes. But when it comes to the conflict, I think the line in the sand is being drawn. It's like, look, if you keep coming in and grabbing this territory I have, or if you strike us or attack us anymore, we're going to go nuclear against the West. That's what he was given. It was a very high-strung speech, as they've been describing it here in the West. They called him rambling. I would think that might be that he's more passionate and speaking from the heart. I don't know. I can't interpret him directly because I don't speak Russian. But anyway, that's the story. Go check it out on news. We've got that, plus a lot of other variables that sort of help highlight what has been going on with this West versus Russia or NATO versus Russia conflict and how both sides are sort of escalating this up. And whether you think it's orchestrated or not, it's going to affect us either one way or the other.
Yeah, and it's got to be in the back of your head that this is a possibility. And he bragged about the unstoppable Sarmat 2, the Satan 2. We talked about that over in the video. I want to point out why we always point out like how they say, they say that the sniffling Putin by the first sentence, the reason I point this out, and I point this out with everybody, and I point this out on the right, on the left, if they're talking about T-Man, they say the tyrant, the tyrannical, this, that. But when they talk about JB, they say, the miraculous, blah, 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 the amazing. They're already setting the tone. Their bias is already visible inside of it, right? News was supposed to be as unbiased as possible. It used to be, and it was never completely unbiased. But when in articles nowadays, especially by controlled media, Western media always puts this spin on everybody. They say the despotic, the tyrannical, whatever else. And I'm not defending Putin. We just want to point out when you're being manipulated unknowingly, subliminally. And it could be for anything, right? It could be not for Putin, but for Aaliyah or freaking it just dated myself for Drake or something. They say or R. Kelly. They'll say something and they'll say something before it. I point that out because it is really interesting once you start seeing it. You see it everywhere. You see their view of people and how they're before the article even starts, they're putting labels or they're telling you how to think about this person. In reality, we should all think for ourselves. That's all we're saying. And then Vladimir Putin's nuclear targets mapped the 14 U.S. locations in Russia's crosshairs. So Dex, actually, there's some pretty interesting locales here. Obviously, some of the most obvious. Do you want to go over those?
Certainly, the obvious one is the Pentagon. So, first and foremost, you would think the head of everything that all of our military and all of our agencies come into, the Pentagon would be first. The second is the naval station at Norfolk, which is obviously another large one of the highest concentrations of Navy forces. Around 100,000 air operations are carried out there yearly. Another one is the Comfort Sweet Kings Bay Naval Base area, which is in Camden County, Georgia. Barksdale Air Force Base, which is in Louisiana. Whitman Air Force Base, that's in Missouri. The United States Strategic Command Post, very important for them to target on their short list, so to speak. Responsible for our nuclear deterrence and other things. The VLF Array Lue, a facility in Louie, Hawaii that communicates military orders to submarines underwater. So another very critical place. Kirtland Air Force Base, home to the Air Force Material Command's Nuclear Weapons Center. That's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The 21st Force Support Squadron. This is the U.S. Space Force unit based in Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. Warren Air Force Base. That's in Wyoming. Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. Obviously, we know that's where a lot of our bombers fly out of, especially the nuclear ones. Hill Air Force Base in Davis County, Utah. Malmstrom Air Force Base and Naval Radio Station Jim Creek, which is in Washington. So that is the short list. At least if they were to say there's going to be a short list of just the top 14 locations that he would be targeting with something like a SARMAT, that would be it. At least that's what experts are claiming. So do you live near one of those places? That would be the first thing you'd want to think about.
So let's just go over the location. So if you live in the United States here, just think about the name of where you live. So also Washington, Cascade County, Montana. We have Davis County, Utah. We have Minot, North Dakota. We have Cheyenne, Wyoming, which you guys probably already know. Of course, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Lue, Hawaii, essentially Hawaii, which is crazy because you already had a threat. You had the false missile strike there. And then, of course, we had the United States Strategic Command, Whitman, where it doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't even say the exact location. I'm guessing they don't have that.
Whitman's in Missouri.
But the one underneath it. No, the one underneath it.
Oh, Strategic Command?
Yeah, it doesn't have. I'm guessing that's DC, I guess. Anyways, they have the location for everything else. Maybe that's not a known thing. I don't know. Location near Knob Noster, Missouri.
It's in Nebraska.
Nebraska. Yeah. They kind of missed that, didn't they? And who knows? They probably had ChatGPT put this together, but Air Force Base in Bossier Parish, Louisiana. That one I kind of didn't think of. Comfort Suites. Let's see here. Camden County, Georgia. Dex, you're screwed. But so am I in Oso, Washington. And then Norfolk, Virginia. That's kind of expected. And then the Pentagon, which, obviously DC is going to be a main target. But these are SARMATs. So if in real life, if this ever did happen, which probably won't, A Sarmat it can wipe out 4 states. So it doesn't matter if you live right outside that city or 5 cities away or 100 miles away. It can cover hundreds of miles, apparently. So that's a freaky, freaky thing. 12 to 16 warheads can go on a Sarmat. What it does is it's not just one nuke. It's one big missile that then launches multiple warheads. So that's how it achieves that huge, huge area.
What I want to know is, how did a hotel make it on that list? It is literally the Comfort Suites Kings Bay Naval Base area is literally a Comfort Suites hotel. And it's on the coast. It's in Kingsland, Georgia. It's on the coast. It's furthest away from me in the state of Georgia, so I'm not really worried about it. But
Wonder if
it's literally on the water.
Maybe it's a bunker. Maybe it's built over an old bunker. Like
I'm sure it's a hotel
Greenbrier.
that's like near the base there, but somebody wrote it down and just copied the wrong information instead of the base name.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you've got the Greenbrier, which is a known bunker. That's not on the list, which who knows? Maybe they know it wouldn't affect it. But then the fire. This is everyone. The second we heard about this, it's like we knew. Even I got a message. Who was that? James Damron over on Twitter, who said, basically, you know that the prices on meat are going to go up. I said, absolutely, yeah. As far as the amount of farmland that was affected, on top of inflation, on shrinkflation, on everything that's going on right now, on top of the supply chain stuff that's going on now, and on top of the 3 or 4 years in a row we've had these weather events, you now have these fires, and these fires heavily affect the farmland. So again, 1.1 million acres of I shouldn't say farmland, of the Panhandle are charred. Fatal in furrow of the size of Rhode Island. One perished with deadly smoke seen 7 hours away in El Paso, Texas. So it's a massive, massive fire. I'm praying for those of you that live in that area, that have houses, that have farms, that have land. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you guys. You know, we had ours. California had theirs. Australia, I know you went through absolute literal hell. With this one, the area that it's affecting, it's just it's really, really bad for everybody. The Smokehouse Creek fire has scorched over 1 million acres and is at 3% contained. 3% contained. Think about that. It says this is now both the largest and most destructive fire in Texas history. It was the second right the first day. Now it is the largest and most destructive in history, the second largest wildfire in U.S. history, what is the number one on the nationwide? Do we know? Is that California? I don't know if that's California or if that's in the Midwest, but smoke from the fire was visible a 7-hour drive away in El Paso. The National Weather Service said that a cold front pushed the smoke into the region on Wednesday, and visibility for some areas was reduced to 4 miles. So think about how massive. Again, I just want to reiterate, I am praying for you in Texas. If you are in the affected areas of this, I am really, really sorry. I hope that I hope that you guys are all okay. Obviously, there's not too many fatalities because, luckily, in one way, it was a good thing it didn't happen around too many huge, big cities. And luckily, a lot of people were able to evacuate. But yeah, many people are raising their eyebrows about this whole thing because how it moved. It's just so fast. Once again, we have a fire that's got high winds just coming out of nowhere and wiping out everything. Gosh, it's getting nuts. And then, of course, now we've confirmed Texas wildfire destroys grain and cattle, Agricultural Commissioner says. So, James Damron, you are absolutely right. Yeah, I totally agreed with you. And now we have verification of that. Wildfires raging in the Texas Panhandle have destroyed grain in the storage bins and likely perished tens of thousands of livestock, State Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller said in an interview on Thursday. A blaze dubbed the Smokehouse Creek Fire is the largest in Texas history, and burning grazing lands covered with years of grass that are helping to fuel the fire. So it is now affected. It says it's almost like gasoline when it goes up. We have now lost over 1 million acres. This wildfire raging northeast of Amarillo since Monday had blackened 850,000 acres of grasslands and timber as of Wednesday, the Texas Forest Service reported. So again,
that stat is insane, Adam. Texas is the nation's biggest cattle producer, and Miller said more than 85% of the state's herd is in the Panhandle.
Comes from there.
So they're the largest producer, and 85% is in that area. They're not saying that 85% is wiped out yet, but it's in that area, and that's the ramification of this is going to be huge in the coming months as prices start to go up for beef. So if you've got a freezer and you want to stock up, that's one thing. Matter of fact, I'm thinking of that, and go buy some burger meat, start filling the freezer up.
People are begging for synthetic meat on parts of TikTok, and I'm like, are you kidding me? They want Mr. Gates and others to come up. We want our synthetic meat. Like, move faster on this. People are saying we need to. It's for it's for the good of the planet. When there's money involved, you really got to be really questioning everything going on. Very scary.
And it's not just the cattle that have died from this. If the lands are burnt, if the cattle survive, there's nothing there for them to eat. So they're going to die anyway.
So yeah, there's no what's the dang word? Dang it. There's a word basically to consume. I will remember it before the end of the show. Starts with an R. But so does the word describing what I'm thinking. And then Texas on the Rio Grande, 300 miles apart. Biden and Trump try to use immigration to an advantage for the day that's coming up in November. Dex, what the heck's going on here? This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so they both showed up. We knew it was happening. T-Man had announced it earlier, and then shortly thereafter, JB decided, hey, I need to go there too. So they went to two different locations. Trump went to Eagle Pass, which is the area we've covered quite a bit, which is where the conflict between Texas has been, and the feds over the fencing and the barbed wire, and it's the location we showed you, even where the fence is wide open and doesn't even have gates in certain areas. So they're making a big hubbub in one spot, but you can just walk 2 miles down the coast there and walk right in. But nonetheless, they both went to two different locations. Biden was over in the other location was in, I can't remember where it was. Oh, Brownsville. He was in Brownsville, which is about 300 miles south of there. So both of them trying to position themselves accordingly for November. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the fact that we have this problem in many different ways at our border. And it's a problem of the number of people that are wanting to get in. It's a problem of the number of people that are trying to infiltrate into our country with bad intent and using that as a cover to get in and get past. And we've seen this time and time again. We've seen examples of it time and time again. And the numbers they keep reporting down there are colossal. And not only that, those are only the numbers that they touch. There's no idea how many people they don't touch. There's been an ongoing battle between the feds as to whether or not the feds in Texas, as to whether or not Texas can defend its own border. And that debate continues to go on in the courts, and it continues to go on with Texas performing their own actions, taking control of certain areas, wiring it off, barbed wiring it off, etc.
Why they went the same day? I mean, I believe T-Man announced this before JB. I wonder, like, as much as JB actually campaigned and things, it's like he didn't really care about campaigning or going out. You would think this would normally be like, oh, well, we've got to match him in this. So it's just kind of odd that they both went the same day. Does it really help JB that much? Especially with how people are polling, how they think he's handled the whole thing. I don't know. I guess
Oh,
like it would matter when it comes that day anyways. Go ahead.
and yeah, and Adam, let's not forget that legislation they're trying to pass to take these people that have come across and put them in the military.
Yeah, there's the courage to serve, right? Is it courage to act or courage to serve?
Yeah, something like that.
Courage to serve act, and it would take anybody that runs in under the fence and they say, hey, I want to join the military. Put them in for 4 years, and after they get out, they got their green card. That's what they are trying to push right now. In theory, people are like, well, if they did do their time for the country and, they put in their years for the country, that, hey, that's more than most people do that are born here, right? In theory, that does have like a good ring to it. But why, right? Why is this going on? Meanwhile, our youth doesn't want to join the military. Look at what is happening right now. And look at how the people are coming in are essentially, they're all saying the same thing. They're all on the same side because that certain side is going to not only help them either stay here, but also get benefits and, of course, all sorts of good things. So, yeah, it's like, which way are they going to go? Mind you, they're also pushing to basically have anybody walk in and drop a ballot in and walk out, and that counts. That's why it's weird they fought on all of the ID stuff, and it's just like, gosh, it seems obvious to me what's happening, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Be nice, and again, consider this. We're all a community. We all have to fight this together. And then before we talk about first, North Korea spy satellite is alive and being controlled. A huge reminder, if you lose power, you definitely want to get a generator. Now, why we suggest solar is because if the power goes out, the grid goes down, gas stations are going to go down too. So unless you have barrels and barrels and barrels of gas, then it's always good to have either both or to have solar, because solar, you put solar panels out. They're easy to plug in. It's like Christmas lights. It's not complicated. The solar panel has one cord go out of it, go into the machine, and then you've got power going into it. You can then store that power or use it. If you want more solar panels, you daisy chain them. One into one, one into one, one into one, and then one into the machine. It's very easy. As far as the machine itself, it can be expanded up to 96 batteries, which is giant. You could have a whole wall of lithium batteries storing your power for when you need it. Or, again, you can just leave the house with one battery and be able to go use your tools or go camping or power a campsite, power a TV, whatever the heck you want. Again, marfooglenews.com/energy. Go check it out. They're silent. They can be run inside. They do not need fuel. And they are built by one of the best companies out there. Energy is now supplying the military. When they say Army Strong, they're not kidding. This won the STTR Phase 2 contract. All the military cares about is if this thing is going to work, and is it going to work every time? Is it tough enough to deal with battlefield conditions? And that's exactly why we recommend the tactical 1,500-pound latches, steel reinforced frame on all of it, including the batteries, built-in heaters into each battery for extreme cold temperatures, and of course, water and dust resistance. It's got all sorts of awesome features. And the company that makes it isn't a front for another country that at the same time is trying to take us out. So that's why I recommend this. This is a weight. They are fully transparent that it is a weight. They build these as they go. They use high quality parts. This is the way you want to go. But to go this way, you have to wait. It's not good for an affiliate, because when people are told that it's going to take months to get their generator, they just say, I'll just go get this one and it will come on Monday. That one that comes on Monday, just keep in mind, when it actually is an SHTF situation, is it going to turn on? Is it remotely turned off? Is the company you are supporting directly supporting one of our adversaries? Most people don't actually care. but you will care when that thing totally fries out or just doesn't work. This one can be protected by EMP shield, which is absolutely giant. That means this is the only company that can be officially protected by an EMP shield. So very, very cool. Marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. It will come in absolutely clutch. So yeah, go check it out. Marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. And this satellite is, quote, alive and being controlled, experts say. North Korea's first spy satellite is alive, and space experts have said after detecting changes in its orbit that suggested Pyongyang was successfully controlling the spacecraft, although the capabilities remain unknown. Remember, they just sent 6,700 containers to Russia. 6,700 train-sized containers to Russia with artillery shells, with all sorts of things. What did they get in return? We don't exactly know. We know that they're trading weapons. We know that North Korea got a super EMP weapon from Russia. This was admitted not only by Russia, but by Pentagon and North Korea. And they have traded nuclear essentials and things like this. So what the heck is up with this satellite? At the same time, Iran actually has a satellite launched by Russia. It's like, they're telling us that this thing is being moved. Dex, it is, after 2 failures, this thing is working according to government officials, and they're saying that it is being controlled by North Korea. Same time, Iran has a satellite up there for whatever reason we don't know.
Right. After 2 failures of launching, they finally get it up. But then when they do get it up, there was no movement. A lot of people were speculating it was dead. And it was working its way, I guess, down, if you want to call it that. It was just sort of stuck. It was no longer in the same position it was supposed to originally be launched in. But now they said it has started to move. And it's moving in a direction to put it back into its original launch position. Now, some were speculating, could it be moving towards other satellites? Others are speculating, no, it looks like it's moving to its original position. But that's the question. They don't really know. But the point that it's moving means it's being given commands through its control center. Early on, they had 0 radio signals. A lot of the amateurs that track those signals were able to sort of say, hey, it's not got any radio communication either way. So that's why they thought it was sort of a dead satellite. But now they're seeing that it is moving and it is being responsive to somebody that's controlling it.
Now that is it's something that everybody's going to have their own opinion. Yes, I'm actually going to pop into the chat real quick, and for those watching the replays, so I'm going to @ somebody here. Let's see here. Let's mute that. Okay. And so if you can, pay attention to the chat if you're watching chat, because for those of you watching replay, you won't be able to see that, not unless you're really watching it. So, okay. And if you could answer that, please. Okay. And Paul Barbacano, thank you, says JB 2024. Just kidding. That's okay. Hey, if that's your thing, like I said, if that's your thing, that's your thing. Let's see. And let's go over to China. U.S. becomes biggest threat to space security. Let's see here. China, according to China's top brass. Dex, would you cover this? This is China talking, by the way.
Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting point that we're going to take here from what we typically hear. We typically hear from the U.S. that it is all about China being the big threat, and that we've invested in Space Force and we've got to watch out for what they're doing with their space lasers and arms that can reach out and destroy satellites. But this is coming out of TASS. This is coming from China, and it's now quoting as saying the United States is actively developing offensive weapons in space and conducting military exercises, which makes it the biggest threat to space security, according to the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Zhang Zhang. And they said that at a briefing. So the quote, the U.S. has already become the bigger driving force in militarizing space and turning it into a battlefield. It has become the biggest threat to space security. So this is basically them saying exactly what we say about them. So it's a good, tit for tat on words, but it's also interesting to think about because a lot of what we talk about defensive, and we talk about analysis, and we talk about detection and making sure we know what's going on up there and defending our equipment and making sure it works. We don't ever really talk about the offensive stuff, but we're surely quick to say, look at Russia putting up a satellite killer EMP that's going to take out all of our satellites, or look at China with their ground to space based lasers that can take out our satellites from the ground. So we're constantly, and I say we, I mean the U.S. Space Force, the military, talking about these threats, are always talking about how the others are offensive, but we never really say that we're offensive. And it's clear now that our adversaries are sort of pointing the finger right back and saying, no, look, the U.S. is being just as offensive. They are putting up and doing their own things specifically to attack others from space. So take it for what it's worth. It is the words of the adversary. It is the words from a non-Western media outlet. That's what it is. So there you have it. But technically what I read to you was specifically the quote coming from the defense minister there from China. So the rest of the hyperbole would be coming from the author of the article.
Yeah, so everybody's pointing fingers, and everybody is saying that the other party is the big threat. What's crazy is that there's a lot of the bigger countries out there, not the main NATO 32 or whatever, but other countries that are vocally essentially agreeing with them, saying that, yeah, China's right. Even when, China's building this underwater cable system and their selling point is, oh, well, the U.S. won't be able to listen and filter all your stuff. It's like, would you want the U.S. monitoring you, or would you want China monitoring you? I guess it's kind of like, you pick the lesser of two evils. Yes, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, and they're basically saying hello, and if you can, check chat. And then South Korean and U.S. troops will begin major exercises next week in response to North Korean threats. Sorry about that. Now let's go back to it. Let's see here. South Korean, whoops, don't want to, yeah. Okay. So South Korean and U.S. troops will begin their expanded annual military drills next week in response to North Korea's evolving nuclear threats. The two countries said on Wednesday a move that will likely enrage North Korea because it views its rivals' joint training as an invasion rehearsal. Year after year, we hear this from North Korea. Of course, constantly they're saying, oh, this is absolutely, crossing the red line. As far as like the drills, they've gotten bigger and bigger. And just recently, over the last few months, they actually did a separate drill with a so-called scenario where North Korea did a surprise event on North Korea or South Korea that they compared it to. They said, well, we think, it's possible that North Korea could do the same thing that Hamas did to Israel. And it says in recent months, North Korea has inflamed animosity in the Korean Peninsula with fiery rhetoric and continued missile tests, some of which actually they had to evacuate South Korean islands. It said while it's unlikely North Korea to launch full-blown attacks against South Korea and the U.S., observers say that the North could still stage limited provocations along the tense border with South Korea. One thing to point out as well, everything that's going on with the satellite, everything that's happening within their country, they've torn down all of their statues, everything, 110-foot statues of their hope for reunification with South Korea. They've actually torn all of those down. I believe there was 65 statues torn down that were all kind of dedicated to one day South and North will be one with itself again, and that family and brothers and sisters will be one people again. They're, even as despotic as it was, they always had this kind of hope that someday they would have this war be over, right? Well, they tore all those down. They're basically saying, screw you guys. There's no chance for forgiveness at this point. So I don't think that any one place will happen. I think when this all pops off, it's going to be all of them at once. That's what World War III is going to look like. These drills also, by the way, remind you, all the major drills, whether they're annual or not, or they're regular, they can also be used. That is a good time for them to actually make a move. If they take action or if they do a surprise attack on North Korea because of imminent threats. Remind you, that's one of the scenarios as well, that they take the head off the snake before they strike, or take the artillery out before they strike. That's what they drilled for. That it would stop it beforehand. So there's a chance that the U.S. could strike North Korea first. Who knows? U.S. and South Korea. They've been parking nuclear submarines there. They've been doing all sorts of stuff. And then in India, this is pretty crazy. Mr. Gates, Zuckerberg are among the CEOs and celebs set to attend a 3-day pre-wedding party being thrown by an Indian tycoon worth $113 billion. So first of all, a normal Indian wedding, Indians in general, they have some pretty expensive traditions. Like they all absolutely love the status of gold. Gold is a huge cultural status as far as a symbol of their family's wealth and their, when you deal with essentially a system of the more money your family has, the more important. And the parties on the regular level, like just normal working families, they save up for these weddings. They do huge, very intricate weddings. When you get up to the billionaire level, this wedding is going to be insane. There is a reason why Bill there. This is a tech tycoon, $113 billion. But that's nuts. I would not be surprised if this guy, and look at this. Do you think that and by the way, they do arranged marriages there, which nothing against any culture in the world, but I have never, I've known people. I worked with an Indian family, an extended Indian family. I worked at basically a pizza joint with a lot of Indian family. And their extended friends and family. I went to events. I went to a wedding. I knew the two girls that I knew that had arranged marriages. I witnessed from them trying to accept it, them hating, them crying at work, like just, they didn't like the man that they were matched up with by their family, but the man had status. The man was rich. I almost think, and I swear what's crazy is, does he kinda? Just a little bit. You take his face, almost looks like a Russell Brand. Just a tiny bit. Just a teeny bit. But would you do an arranged marriage? Would you do that? And again, nothing against the cultural portion of that, but I have personally seen that the two women that I knew were so incredibly unhappy, and they ended up essentially one of them got disowned, and one of them, they were able to work it out where she ended up, they all agreed on a different partner or something, and it was still against tradition. But yeah, this wedding is going to be insane. You're talking about weddings like where, you go to a circus or something. Talk about the circus, elephants, tigers, all of this kind of stuff coming to the party. Talking about, this isn't a normal party. This is like beyond a royal wedding. This is something out of the movies kind of party.
Their entertainment is Rihanna and David
Oh,
Blaine.
yeah. David Blaine is coming as their entertainment, and Rihanna is personally going to be singing there. And you guarantee, like, they're paying them millions. Like, Rihanna's probably getting paid just as much to go to a wedding and being a part of this party or whatever as she would be selling out a full, a full stadium. Would you date, I guess, would you date somebody if they had that much money, no matter if you liked him or not? Tech tycoon. I personally wouldn't, but you know what else I think of is when they're at that party, all of these tycoons getting together, getting drunk, having backdoor, behind closed door talks. That's what I think about. What are they talking about? What do they use that 3 days to do? And then Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signs law with big potential impact on the EpiPen case. Dex, do you want to go over the EpiPen stuff here?
Sure, there's secret grand jury testimony that are in the cases that he wants to make public. He signed it into law, and these are from cases including evidence against him, specifically from these cases that all have just been locked up because they were grand jury testimony and they were never released. And he's been saying, hey, this needs to actually come out. It doesn't need to be locked up. This guy's now perished, and it's one of the biggest stories. And so much has been done that he has done and he's been able to do. And we ought to have the right to know what's going on. So he passed it. He signed it in, says, I think it's July 1st. The information has to come out. It has to be released from the grand juries. I don't know what we're going to get from it, but whatever it is, we haven't seen it before. So maybe it'll be something new.
Yeah. I think that this is going to be like a big distraction. Something's going to happen. And then of course it's probably going to line up with something way more important, like the same time. Hello, governor's wife. Happy birthday. And again, wherever you're at, I hope you're having a happy birthday. And your husband loves you very, very much. Again, if you know somebody named Hello, Governor, he just wanted to let you know that he loves you and happy birthday.
We got the name.
What is it?
It's Carrie.
Carrie. Happy birthday, Carrie. And again, Carrie, happy birthday. I was hoping that I looked and I looked and I looked and I didn't see it. Carrie, if you're drinking your coffee right now, I want to say happy birthday and thank you for being a part of the Fugel fam. And also thank you for watching the replay every day. Thank you for being one of the many that watch that next day, because I know you guys are out there and you don't get to join the live chat. I wish you were here, and everybody else does too, including your wonderful husband. So thank you, and thank you, Carrie. And then if you haven't already, this is we just picked up Jace in the last week, and this is because a lot of folks have asked us, how do we get backup antibiotics? How do we get this? How do we get that? If you go over to marfugglenews.com/Jace, you can go check this out. This is a legit way to do telehealth. You get a board certified doctor. They have a specialized service that essentially you can get some of your regular medications, depends on what they are, and get a backup supply of certain things. You can get the Jace case, which has emergency medications. It has some of the most likely things that you might run into as far as, your Cillins and this and this and that, as far as stuff for infections and things like that. Not only that, you have add-ons that you can actually add on to packages like that, like albuterol. If you've ever thought about what would happen if the pharmacies go down, if power goes down, are you going to be in the movie, running into a place and trying to deal with 50 other people trying to break into a pharmacy? Or do you have a backup supply that you have at all times? Also, they keep it updated, so you'll always have it for at least that much time, right? That's the really great part about some of the other plans there. So learn more. Again, it is a great thing. Not only are you helping support us, you're getting a discount on things like the Jace case, but you're also taking care of yourself and your loved ones. So it is, again, a legit way that you can do that, legally get your prescriptions through a board certified doctor. So make sure to go check out all of the different options there. Definitely good to have on hand. We just talked about this last week. 30,000 pharmacies were down, and it lasted multiple days in some cases. So that really screws over people. In the case that I was talking about, my personal issues is insurance. Was the systems were down for insurance. So you could pay for your medication. Some of you are out there, you understand how much your medication costs with insurance or without. And it's, in some cases, it's might as well that they can't fill it, right? Because medication is incredibly expensive. All right. And
that daily med thing they have is really cool. When you look at it, I was looking into it because I have medication I have to take daily, and you can get a whole year. And the way it works is you get a year, but then you just keep getting your regular script from your doctor, and you just rotate it into that year. So you take your new one, put it at the end, meet it in. So therefore, you'll always be running a rotation of 1 year, which is good. That's like super awesome if you've got something that you have to take every day and you're scared.
Yeah. So if grid down happens, you will know that you have a year of that covered. That means you don't have to go into CVS with the mobs of people trying to, try to get the crazy stuff, trying to break open safes and everybody's firing at everybody. What every movie says it's going to be like, right? But I would say, though, I think the one part about movies that's true is pharmacies are going to be the first place looted. Atlanta, a countdown timer for the threatened release of the T-Man documents disappeared from the hacker website. Did they get paid? Did they get taken down? Did they get arrested? Did it get released? Like, really, there's no way for us to tell because it could have been. Or somehow the feds or CIA could have went in and taken them out. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, hackers hacked into a specialized set of information. They said that they had information that would essentially prove that Mr. T-Man was right about certain things that happened in 2020. And the feds ended up, they did actually take all of the stuff. They got caught really quick. Well, they came back later and they said, well, we actually have copies of all of that. And we're going to release it if you don't give us blah, 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 this much money. They set a countdown timer. At the end of the countdown timer, they were going to release it if they were not paid. The countdown timer disappeared. Dex, this is Lockbit 3.0 is the group that did this. And they had a timer set for 8:49 a.m. Today. And it apparently disappeared.
It disappeared before the timer would be completed. So to me, that means one of two things. They either got paid by somebody because they didn't want that information to be released, or they were bluffing and they didn't really have it and they just bailed out. They were hoping they would get the negotiation. Now, we don't know how much they asked for. And typically when they do this stuff, they don't publicly say how much. They open a channel for communication and then they negotiate a payment through that. So we don't know if we'll never know what'll happen. What we do know is nothing's released, because if that was released, we'd all probably be talking about it right now. If there was anything salacious or good in there, or informative or sensational. So, but yeah, right now it's sort of nothing. And I think the best guess is they were either paid off or they were bluffing.
Gosh, it's crazy to think about. Like, what if it went the other way? What if these documents were released and it just caused like havoc across the planet? Things like this. It's kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis. We came this close to something really, really crazy, and most people didn't even know it was happening, right? With this, you never know.
Well, what if somebody actually paid them off in exchange for buying the information, and they're holding it to release when they want to?
That's freaky.
Yeah, that could be. That's the third option I just thought of. That could be interesting. Like, it comes out when they want it to come out.
What if T-Man bought it directly? Said, "Hey, can I buy that?" And Giuliani one day just says, Bam! Slams it down on the table like he's Dill Dillinger or something.
Yeah, but will he be melting his makeup off his face with sweat at the time? That would be the question.
And Cuba, former career U.S. diplomat, admits secretly spying for Cuban intelligence for decades. I get, just personally, and I know Cuba's got intelligence. I guess I've never really thought of like Cuba having spies, right? What would a Cuba spy be? Is that like a Walmart CIA? Just kidding. But seriously, they don't have a huge budget. Like, would their gadgets be like, I've got a cell phone? But actually, in reality, Cuba does have some pretty crazy stuff going on. Not to mention, Cuba is working very closely with China and with Russia. They even say that China is training in Cuba, that Russia has training and surveillance equipment set up in Cuba. So they've got some big partners. Dex, as far as this diplomat, this is kind of wild. I wonder, how does this happen? Where I wonder, what is Cuba's angle on this?
Yeah, this goes back quite a bit. I mean, the guy's 3 years old, Manuel Rocha, and he told a federal judge he would admit to federal counts of conspiring to act as an agent of foreign government charges that could land him behind bars for several years. So apparently he's been snagged and he's willing to plea out, so to speak. But apparently, yeah, his prosecutor alleges that he engaged in clandestine activity on Cuba's behalf since at least 1981, when he joined U.S. Foreign Services, including by meeting with Cuban intelligence operatives and providing false information to U.S. government officials about his contacts. So he was intentionally covering it up.
Well, I guess we'll see, what ends up coming out of it. What ends up happening, right? LO Governor, Paul Barbacano, B-Dub, Sweatinum Ministries, Lola Cafe, Wings and Wags Patriot, Ian Jones, thank you. Where JB hit today makes all sense. Where President JB hit today all makes sense. All political. Yeah, but it's like, that's the thing. Like, is it going to help at all? I mean, I don't know. Teresa Broadway, thank you so much. Says, welcoming March. May it be a better month. April, May is like the crazy time. I think that we're actually kind of in the calm. Teresa, I hope that every month is better than the last. And I hope that all of you experience the same thing. Ian Jones says, crane in. Crane in. Huh. And then Armorillo Gunrunners, hello from Armorillo. Thank you. Paul Barbacana says, I was just kidding. Oh, I know you were. Either way, though, if that's somebody else's thing. Anyone else think former President Trump and Biden down south felt a lot like TB slapping Vince McMahon? I don't know. Yeah, that would be a cage match to watch. JB versus T-Man. That would be pretty funny. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Over on D Live, thank you, and thank you. Over to Beer Juice, Scooby-Doo Do Right. Thank you so much. Comet Moon, Kimbria, thank you so much for being there every single day. Heartbroken Survivor, happy birthday to you as well. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for day after day after day. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And then, of course, Scooby-Doo Do Right. Thank you. One Up B. Thank you. Beer Juice. Thank you. And Scooby, thank you. Thank you for hosting as well. 48 viewers you brought over. That's really appreciated, especially right now with everything that's going on and to even bring one person over, I really appreciate. To bring nearly 50 over that may not know us, that's a huge deal. So Scooby, appreciate you. We will try to return the favor. Thank you. Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And again,
Yeah, man.
just a reminder.
Happy birthday to Carrie. Happy birthday to it's a heartbroken survivor, and great job, brother. Much love.
And just a reminder, click right here if you want to watch the news video. If you didn't get to watch it, we will put a tab right here so you can watch it right now. Thank you, everybody. Join us for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
What happens next? Everybody run and they turn their heads. Hey, and what happens next? Everybody run and they turn their heads. Hey, and what happens next? Everybody run and they turn their heads.
Remember to thank your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com